hey there guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, we're making a tree trivet. Well, what the heck is a tree trivet? Well, a tree trivet is a series of trivets that when stacked on their stand, looks like a tree. I saw one of these online not too long ago and I kind of became obsessed with it and I had to kind of make my own. Now I've been playing around with some designs and that sort of thing. So what we're going to do here on today's show is what I've come up with, which is my version of these tree trivets. You guys can modify it, change it however you wish to make it your own. But it starts off with some scrap cherry stock, and let's head over to the bench and I'll show you what I've got in mind. Well, in order to start this project, we need the petals of each layer of the tree. And that's what these blocks of wood are. These blanks, these are all cherry. I made them out of scrap that I found in the rack, guys. I didn't mill any stock for this. This is all scrap stock. Now, the dimensions are a little strange. Each one of these blocks is 3 and 21/32 long. The thickness is 15/32 and the width is 27/32. 3 5/8 would work, 1/2 inch. And you know what, this here is 13/16. So if you want to do that, you can. It's not going to change things too much. So I'm going to work with the measurements that I have put on my version of this. So these are the blanks. And the first thing that we need to do is on one of the blanks, we're going to mark a center line on the thickness. And then 1/2 inch in from the edge, we're going to mark another line and center punch that. Just like that. I have also placed a mark at 1 inch in from the end. And with this one blank marked, we're going to head over to the drill press. Well, I have an 11/64 drill bit installed. Guys, if you don't have an 11/64, just use a 3/16. And I have set the fence so that the center of my drill bit hits on our center line that we marked on our blank. And I have set my stop so that it drills on that 1/2 inch mark. I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but we need 24 blanks, 6 for each trivet, and we have 4 trivets on the tree. So on each of our 24 blanks, we need to drill a hole right there at that 1/2 inch mark. And once you get all of those holes drilled at 1/2 inch, we can leave the fence exactly where it is. And we will just set up our blank here. That looks about right there. And we're going to move our stop over 1/2 inch, just like that, to be able to drill the hole at 1 inch in. And we will do that on every one of our blanks as well. And when you're finished, you should have 24 blanks that look like this. Okay, well that's all my blanks done and then some. I have 4 spares in case something should happen. But for the next step, we need a jig. And guys, this jig could not be simpler. All I've done is tilt my table saw blade 22.5 degrees. I've taken a larger piece of pine, put it up on end, and run it through the table saw to get this 22.5 degree kerf. I then laid it on the flat, adjusted the blade height, and cut this cut along here. And what that does is it provides a 22.5 degree kerf in order to hold our pieces at that angle, 22.5 degrees. Now I have made kind of a pattern for this. It's only in the rough stages right now, but will be available by the time this video airs. And there is a drawing of this here, this jig. And although it's not to scale and it's not perfect, it will give you the information you need to be able to cut it. From there, I've just glued and pin nailed a couple of flat pieces here of pine on either side. Guys, the only purpose for this is for clamping purposes to a miter fence. So we're going to need this jig because we need to cut a compound miter slash taper on each one of these pieces here. It has to be angled at 20 degrees along its length and 22.5 degrees tilted. I know that sounds kind of confusing, but don't worry, I'm going to walk you through it and show you how to do it. So the very first thing we want to do is we want to mark some lines here on the end of one of our blanks, on the end with the holes in it, and we're going to mark it so that when we're done, there will be a division in the middle that is 1/4 of an inch wide. Okay, and with that one blank marked, guys, this is basically the one that we will gauge all the rest of them at. So with this one marked, we can now take all of our blanks and our cutting jig. We're going to head over to the bandsaw. Well, over here at the bandsaw, let me just see if I can explain this. What we have is we have our miter gauge. This miter gauge is in our miter slot on the right side of the blade. And guys, we have tilted the miter gauge to 20 degrees to the left. We have our little jig here set up so that our 22.5 degree tray or groove is on the left side of our miter gauge. And with the holes in the front, we're going to sit that piece right in that little slot, the little groove, and we're going to set it up and clamp our jig onto our miter fence so that the blade strikes at the bottom of that mark at 1/4 of an inch there that we put on the front of this one piece. So I'm going to cut this one piece off and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, and with all of those cut on one side, I've now shifted my whole miter fence and the jig to the opposite side. I've rotated my jig so that our little tray here at 22.5 degrees is closest to the blade, and it will tilt our pieces the opposite way. And just like what I did on the opposite side, I've tilted my miter fence to 20 degrees, except this time, instead of tilting it left, I'm tilting it right. And we have lined it up so that the bottom of that line, that left 1/4 inch in the middle, lines up with our blade. And we're just going to follow through and cut the corners off of all of our pieces. So using the pattern that you can download from my website, I have made a marking template. And guys, we can see here on this template that there are 4 dotted lines. Those denote the holes that go through each one of our blanks. Now I have used some spray adhesive, attached the pattern to some 1/4 inch hardboard, and all we're going to do is we're going to line up this pattern onto our blanks. We will trace it out very carefully, or you can do it all willy-nilly and recklessly if you really want to. And once we get this traced out, we're going to take each one of these blanks over to the scroll saw and we're going to cut these out. Guys, we're going to do this for every single one of our blanks. And when we get that done, I'm going to show you what you end up with. And you end up with a petal something like this. Now, guys, I'm going to tell you, there's a reason I make these patterns on the show prior to actually putting them online. And I don't like the fact that you can see that our angles here are 20 degrees in and our 22.5 down is gone. So I'm going to have to change up the procedure here. I apologize for that, but you know what? Better to do it here now, here on the show, than to have you guys do it and it not work. So, well, guys, we have the shapes cut and we are going to do the exact same cutting here at the bandsaw. The only difference is instead of leaving that 1/4 inch in the center that we did, we're going to line it up so that the blade strikes at the center line. And that should fix this up. So sorry about that, but at least we got that straightened out. It's the exact same procedure with the tilting to the left and to the right at 20 degrees, except we're striking at the center line. We are not striking outside, leaving a 1/4 inch of material in the middle. Okay, so that is much better. I don't know what I was thinking, but basically you need to cut the shape first and then you do these angle cuts to the center line. But guys, what we need to do now is we're going to head over to the belt sander. And on the bottom edge is where it's the smallest on these tapers, we're going to put a radius on both bottom corners, one at this sharp point here on the underside and one on this one here that we just cut the angles. We're just going to do it at the belt sander. We're just going to do it freehand. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we will use our flat sides of our petals as the flat reference surface on the table of the belt sander. And with those curves being done at both ends, we're now going to give our pieces a good sanding. Guys, we'll break all of these sharp edges. We can use the old paper on the MDF to give our angled cuts a sanding, get rid of those bandsaw teeth marks. While I could have done them on the table saw and avoided having to sand them so much, I really wasn't comfortable with the process of having my hands that close to a blade while having to cut these angles. So it's best to do something that you are comfortable with, and I chose the safer method of the bandsaw. So we're going to get these all sanded up, and at that point our petals for all of our trivets are done, other than their assembly, and we can move on to making the base. Okay, so all of our petal or leaf pieces are all sanded and ready to go. And I have this 3/4 inch thick piece of walnut. I've drilled in the middle a 1/4 inch diameter hole, and I have cut this roughly on the scroll saw, guys, just a little larger than 3 13/16 in diameter. I'm going to take this over to the lathe, turn it down to its final dimension of 3 13/16, do a little bit of rounding on the top and the bottom, and I'll see you when I get that done. I really don't think we need a video of me turning a disc. Okay, and that is our base done. So what we have now is I've got another chunk of walnut. It is 7 7/8 of an inch long. It's about 1 by 1. I'm not really 100% sure on that, but it's just, I think just over an inch by an inch. And what we're going to do is I've marked and punched the centers on both ends. I'm going to take this over to the lathe. I'm going to turn this down. I'll show you what I come up with when I get it done, and I'll explain what it is that you're going to need to do in order to make this. This ends up being the trunk of our trivet tree. Well, for the base, I have drilled out the middle and I've installed a 1/4 20 threaded insert. Now for the upright post, which is the trunk, I have done this. I have turned this so that 4 5/8 is as wide as I can get it. It's just over an inch in diameter. This top section here is 3 1/4 inches long, and it is just a little over 1/2 inch in diameter. The measurements are not imperative here, guys. Now what I've done is right in the middle at the bottom here, I have installed a 1/4 20 threaded hanger bolt. And if you don't know what a hanger bolt is, it's a bolt that looks like this. And all we need to do is we can just install this now right here into our base. And there we go. That is our base holder for our tree trivets done. So the last thing here to do, guys, is to assemble the actual trivets. And for that, we're going to need a little bit of elastic cord. So I have this 1 millimeter elastic cord, or 0.03 inches, depending on what you want to call it. I just got this from a local craft store, and I'll show you what we're going to do with this. So we're going to need 2 pieces of this. I'm just going to cut it off. The length at this point really doesn't matter. And we're going to take 6 of our little leaves. And through those holes that we made, we're going to thread our elastic through, say, in this case, I'm the lower hole, we're going to call it, and we're going to thread it all the way through all 6 of our pieces. And we want to thread it so that they're all facing the same way. So all of our tapers kind of thing are facing down. So now we're going to take our second string or our second elastic cord and we're going to feed it through all of our top ones. Now I know my hands are getting in the way here. Once I get it fed through, I'll show you what we're looking at. So we have our elastic cord thread right through. So we're going to take our top one. We're going to get the ends. I'm flipping it over here, and we're going to pull it fairly tight. Just like this. And we're going to tie it in a double knot to secure it. All right, just like that. Now, we're going to take our other string and see how I've just folded this all up so that all of those angles click in together. We're now going to take the other string and we're going to tie that one into a double knot. So we want to pull this a little bit tight, not tight enough that you're going to take all of the elastic out of the string or all of the stretch out of it, but tight enough that it's going to hold it in this formation of this kind of a cone. Just like that. It's going to hold it like this. Now, guys, let's say that you're going to use this as a trivet. Let's say this glue bottle is what we want to place on the trivet. You just press down. And the curves that we've sanded on the edge allows this to splay out smoothly. And then when you take it off, it goes back into its kind of tree formation. And that tree formation sits right on there. And you'll do this for all 4 and then place them on your holder. And when you get your last one done, it just sits on there like that. Look at that. Guys, check that out. 4 trivets that look like a wooden tree. And honestly, what we're going to do here is I'm going to actually put a little dot of CA glue on each one of these knots. And once it cures, I'll cut the tails off. But like I said, you just take the trivet off the tree, take whatever you need to have on the trivet and sit it on it, flattens out the trivet, protects your tabletop, and then it springs back and ready for mounting again onto the tree. Guys, it's just an adorable little project, makes a great gift, and I don't know, I think it's pretty awesome. So all that's really left to do here is I'm going to give each one of these pieces a coating of Danish oil. I think that's really all the finish I need. Once the weather improves here and it gets a little warmer consistently in the shop, I may apply a varnish to each one of these pieces. I haven't decided, but bare minimum will be Danish oil, just to bring out the brown of the walnut for the trunk and the base, and that nice red for the cherry of the tree. So there you go. That's another one in the books, I guess. And there you have it. Tree trivets. Guys, what an absolutely fun and adorable project. Simple yet functional. It looks great. It's kind of cool the way those trivet pieces just kind of spring down to be able to flatten out and then boing right back up to be able to mount on the tree. It's quite different from a traditional style trivet. And I've done a few trivets here on the show, both at the table saw, and then I did get an idea from a trivet from Paul's Messy Workshop. I did that one quite some time ago, just changed it up a bit to make it my own. But this one here, as I said, I saw it online. I saw it on Amazon actually and thought it looked pretty cool, and I thought I would give it a whirl and make my own version, and here we are. Now, we did have a few hiccups there in the beginning with trying to cut the angles on those pieces, and that was my own fault. The angles are still correct. What was not correct was my procedure, because I ended up cutting the angles, which seemed to be great, but then I turned around and cut them right off. So that kind of messed me up a little bit, but that's okay. We recovered from it, and I gave you the updated procedure to make it so that you can make your own without that issue. You won't end up having to cut it off. Now, guys, what I'm going to do is this pattern will be able to be uploaded for free from my website. So you can just visit cutabovewoodworkings.com. I'll post the link in the video description, and you can go there and download the pattern for this and then make your own version. With the pattern, I'm not putting the angles and everything on it and trying to do a 3D rendering of what this piece actually looks like. That's what the video is for. The pattern is to get the template and to get an idea of what you need for the base and the angles that you need to make the jig in order to cut it. But I'm not going through trying to do a 3D rendering of each one of these little leaf pieces. It's just too much. I just don't, it's not what I do. It's not my thing. It's not my jam. Boy, look at me all hip. Either way, guys, once this thing gets the Danish oil on it, those colors are really going to come out. I'm really looking forward to that. But for now, it's a fantastic looking project. As I said, functional, makes a great gift. While it seems tedious, you could very easily spend a weekend out here in the shop and pump out like 5 of these things, no problem, and give them as Christmas gifts. So guys, don't discount it. Check it out, give it a try, and see what you think. Guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in this week. This one has been a lot of fun. I've wanted to do this for a while. It was just a matter of putting together the pattern and trying to figure out in my head that 20-degree taper and then that 22.5-degree angle. It was kind of messing me up there for a while, but we got it. If you haven't already, if you found any part of this informative, likable, enjoyable, whatever, interesting, why not like and subscribe to the channel? Guys, we have an absolutely amazing audience base, and I'm really hoping that you're going to consider becoming a part of that. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed the project this week. I hope you're going to give this one a try for yourself and maybe make some for gifts for your friends and family. But more importantly, guys, I hope you're going to join me again next week when I bring you yet another woodworking video.